Hey guys, it's Michael Ivanov here. And first of all, I want to say thank you to Alpha Leaders for having me be on their channel and be a part of everything that they're doing. We want to put together some content for you that I believe will help change your life. I'm an author, a motivational speaker, but I wasn't always that way. For a long time in my life, I was working in this dead-end job. I was depressed, I was miserable, and I hated myself for it. I was sitting in a cubicle, and it was one of these jobs where I would just show up on Monday, and I'm counting down the days till Friday, right? You probably know what I'm talking about. You've probably felt this before, where, Sunday evening, you have your weekend, you have your 2 days to hang out, to spend time with your family, with your friends. But then there's that dreadful Sunday that's coming, right? And that Sunday evening where you know that you got to go to bed, and the next day you got to wake up and you got to go to that miserable job, to that miserable environment, you got to go back to quote unquote the grind. And it's not where you want to be. Believe me, I've been there, I felt that, and it's not a good feeling. And so, I wasn't always an author. I wasn't always a motivational speaker. I lived that life. I lived in that environment where I was showing up every day and just miserable, absolutely miserable. I had nothing to live for, nothing to look forward to, nothing that I was doing. I had no way to express my creativity. I had no way to express who Michael Ivanov was. And I always knew that I had more to offer to the world. I'm this kid. I came from the Soviet Union when I was 2 years old. And my parents, they grabbed all of us kids and they left, and we immigrated to the United States. And I grew up with 7 brothers, 5 sisters, 13 kids in the family. Yes, I know what you're thinking, but same mom, same dad. I don't know what they were thinking. Apparently they weren't doing too much thinking, but I loved it. I loved growing up in a big family, but we grew up very little because we were immigrants, and because my dad was the only one working. We had all these kids in the family. We grew up, we weren't doing so well financially. And so, my dad worked 2 jobs, and then he took night classes in school afterwards, after work. And my mom, she stayed home and took care of us kids. And so from a very young age, I knew that if I wanted something, if I wanted like all the sneakers that all the kids at school had, all the brand name clothing, all that kind of stuff, I had to go out and get a job. I had to go out and earn my own money, because my parents would only give me the hand-me-downs from my older brothers, or, things that they'd buy at the thrift store or Goodwill and that kind of thing. And so I knew that I had to go out and earn my own money. And so when I was in middle school, I already had my first job. I delivered newspapers. And back in those days, they actually let the kids go around and deliver newspapers. So every single day I would get off the bus, I would throw the newspaper bag over the handlebars of my bicycle, and I would drive around the neighborhood and I would deliver newspapers. So from a very young age, I understood the principle of hard work. I understood that if I wanted something in my life, that I could go out and get it, that I had to go out and earn it. I had to go out and work for it. But as we all know, the principle of hard work doesn't mean success, right? We all know people who work hard but aren't where they want to be. We all know people who work hard but are miserable. We all know people who work hard but still are living with no direction and no purpose in their life. And so I knew that there was something that I was missing in my life. Sitting in that cubicle, depressed and miserable, I didn't have a problem with working hard. I was working hard, but I was not successful. And so I knew that I was missing something. I knew that there was something more to life. I knew there was other success principles that I didn't yet understand, that I was missing, that I had to discover and that I had to implement into my life in order to get to where I wanted to go, to get to become who I wanted to become, to offer to the world the gifts and skills and talents that I believe I possessed, but I just didn't know how to express them. I didn't know how to dig them out of myself yet. And so I knew that there was something I was missing, and there was something that I needed to discover. And so that's what I'm so excited to share with you all today. I want to share with you 3 principles that I believe will absolutely transform your life, because these principles, they helped me get back on track in my life when I needed them most. And so after I implemented these principles into my life, I went from that dead-end job, depressed and miserable in that cubicle, to being able to publish 4 books and go around the country and speak on stages, whether they're students in high schools or they're CEOs, they're salesmen, and various conferences from all over the world. And I get to remind people that there's a better way to live. I get to teach these principles to people, and I've witnessed from the emails that I receive, from messages that I get on social medias of people message me, letting me know how these principles transform their life, how my books, how my work has transformed their life. And it's a better feeling than receiving money for the books or for the speaking. Having somebody come up and attribute your words to their success. It's the most incredible feeling. And so that's why I'm so excited to share these principles, because I believe that they can do that for you. I believe that they can transform you. If you're not where you want to be, maybe you're not in the kind of job, the kind of career that you thought you'd be. Maybe you're not in the kind of moment in time in your life that you thought you would be by this point in your life. Maybe you've been derailed a little bit. Maybe some obstacles, some circumstances, some things in your life have happened that have put you in a position to where you're not where you want to be in life. And so I believe these principles can help equip you. They can be like that toolbox that you can go to help you get back on track and stay on track and become the kind of person that you could become. Become the kind of person that is not just existing on this earth, but is living, truly bringing your gifts and skills and talents to the world and inspiring people to do the same in their lives. And so the principles are these 3 principles that I'm going to share. The first one is to develop a burning desire. The second one then is to take action, because once you've developed a burning desire, you've got to do something with it, right? You've got to do something about it, and you got to take action. And then the third principle is always persist. Because, you can develop a burning desire and you can start taking action, but life is going to hit you. There's going to be obstacles. As a matter of fact, the bigger the dream, the bigger the goal, the longer it's going to take for you to get there. And so that's where the principle of persistence comes in. And so we'll cover all 3 of these principles. And so with that, we'll start with principle number 1. The first thing you've got to do is you've got to develop a burning desire. Now, it doesn't matter where you're at in your life. It doesn't matter what kind of obstacles you're facing. It doesn't matter how many times you failed in the past. It doesn't matter what people think about you. It doesn't matter how many things you have to overcome. If you have a burning desire in your heart to do something great with your life, to not just be a person who just flows through this life, but actually impacts people, goes out there and does incredible things, has incredible impact on the world, has incredible impact on your family, on your community, on people around you, you have to have something to fight for. Right? If I ask you right now, do you want to be successful? As a matter of fact, if I stop 100 people on the street and I ask them, do you want to be successful? Chances are every single one of these people are going to tell me, yes, they want to be successful. Now, if I ask them, what does success look like to them specifically? What does success look like to you specifically? I don't know if everyone will be able to tell me that. See, a lot of people, they love to talk big. They love to talk about wanting to succeed, talking about doing great things, but they don't have clarity. They don't know what that looks like to them specifically. And develop a burning desire. You can't fight for things in your life when you don't know specifically what it is that you're fighting for. And for me, I had to discover that. I had something to offer. I felt like I had more to offer to this world. See, I'm this kid. I mentioned I was born in the Soviet Union. My grandfather fought in the siege of Leningrad. And siege of Leningrad, that's that battle in World War II where the Germans had the city of Leningrad completely surrounded. And so the Russians there was 3 million civilians and soldiers trapped inside the city. And the Germans were trying to starve them out. And so my grandfather was one of those Russian soldiers that was sent to battle without a gun. They just gave him a pack of 5 bullets because they didn't have enough guns for everyone. And they sent him to fight. And my parents, escaped the Soviet Union. So I come from this rich background. I come from a family of fighters. I come from a family of people who live with purpose, and despite the circumstances that they face in life, they still live with so much purpose and impacted so many people. And yet there I was living in America, working in this dead-end job, depressed and miserable. And so I knew that I needed that passion in my life. I knew that I needed to find something to fight for. And that's where a man named Augmendino came into my life. And by came into my life, I don't mean that I physically met him. I wish I did. But I picked up a book when I went on this journey. So life, that's a beautiful thing about life, is that when you start to look, when you feel like there's something different, when you want something more, life has a way of presenting you an opportunity to get more. Sometimes that opportunity can come in the form of an obstacle. Sometimes it comes in the form of an opportunity of meeting somebody. And for me, that came in the form of a book. And I picked up this book called A Better Way to Live, written by Augmendino. And this book changed everything for me. Changed my perspective on life, changed my outlook on life. It reminded me that I too had something to offer, that I too could go out and do incredible things with my life, except for I don't know how to do that. Augmendino was an author and Augmendino was a motivational speaker. So I decided then and there after reading that book that that's what I was going to do. Slight problem. I was not an author, and I was by no means comfortable with speaking. As a matter of fact, when I had to take a public speaking class in college, during my first speech, it was supposed to be about a 3-minute speech. I got up to speak, and about a minute and a half into my speech, I forgot what I had said. I forgot what I was supposed to say next. I mean, if you asked me my name at that point, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, my mind just went absolutely blank. And I'm standing there, the class is looking back at me, I'm looking back at them, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to say. So I just, middle of the speech, I walked out of that classroom. The next day I saw my counselor, and I told him I'm never coming back. I'm not doing that class anymore. And I dropped the class. I never came back. So I was terrified of speaking. And suddenly I read this book by Og Mandino, and this book started giving me ideas and perspectives and outlooks on my life. And so I wanted to do for other people what Og Mandino did for me. And suddenly I had my burning desire. I knew what I needed to do. I needed to write books and I needed to speak. But I had no idea how I was going to do it because, like I said, I wasn't a natural speaker. I was terrified of it. And nor was I an author. I had never written anything. And so I knew, but that's the power of a burning desire. You're not going to know sometimes how you're going to achieve your goal. You're not going to know what you need to do. You're not going to see the opportunities in your life. But if you have that goal, if you have that burning desire to achieve something, you have that clarity of a goal in mind, you're going to start to figure it out. And that's the beautiful thing about life. You're going to start to see opportunities where you have never seen them before. That's what I'm saying. The number one principle to changing your life is have that thing to fight for. Have that burning desire for something, to achieve something. Because eventually it's going to force you to start spotting opportunities in moments in your life where you have never seen them before. And so I knew that I needed to change. I knew that I needed to start developing the skill and breaking this fear of public speaking. And so my wife and I, we heard about this speaker trainer in California. His name was Bo Eason. And so I knew that I needed to get to California and get to this guy's event and train. He was doing his trainings in this theater. But we didn't have the money for it. And it was several $1,000s to attend the event, not including flights and airfare or hotel and rental car and everything. So we got our credit card, we booked our flights, we paid for the event ticket, and I rented the cheapest hotel I could buy in Santa Monica, and I rented a room, further away because it was cheaper, further away from the theater, further away from the city. And I rented a car, and every single morning for 3 days, I got into the car and I fought traffic to get to the theater to train from Bo Eason. I figured if Bo Eason couldn't help me, if this speaker trainer couldn't help me, then I might as well give up on this dream and quit altogether. But Bo Eason said something to me during that event that changed everything for me. He said, just by looking at you, I can see that you have something in you. I can see that people are going to follow you. I can see that desire in you for greatness. I can see that you're fighting for something. I can see that you have more to offer to the world. And he said, people are going to follow you. He said, Michael, I can tell you, people are going to follow you. I can see that in you. He said, the question is, where are you taking them? Where are you leading them? And again, his question reinforced that burning desire in me, reinforced the need for that specific and clear vision of what it was that I needed to do. See, you might be asking yourself that question too. What do I have to offer to the world? And until you figure that out, keep digging. It's an all right place to be. It's okay to not know exactly what it is that you have to offer to the world yet. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to not know where you're headed. But it's not okay to stay that way. And so it reinforced me, him telling me that he saw that in me and telling me, challenging me that from that day forward that I should go to bed every single night and have that thought haunt me every single time before I go to bed. People are going to follow you. Where are you taking them? It reinforced for me that idea, that principle, the importance of having that burning desire of knowing, being clear of knowing where it is I'm going to take people. And that was principle number one. And after he said that to me, everything changed for me. I knew where I was headed, and even though I was scared, even though I felt unqualified, I knew where I needed to be, and everything changed for me. Principle number two. Now you've got to take action. When you've discovered that burning desire, you discover that goal, and maybe I'm talking to you right now, and maybe you know what that is for you. Maybe you've just been afraid. Maybe you just haven't felt qualified to do it. Maybe you've been spending too much time looking around at what other people have, the opportunities, the gifts, the skills, the talents, the abilities that everyone else around you has. And the more we compare, the more it feels like we have less, right? I know you felt that way before. The more we see what everyone else has, the more it feels like we have less. But my friend, you've got to take action, because you cannot gain confidence in yourself. You cannot discover the skills, the gifts, the talents that you have inside of you if you haven't even started working on them. If you haven't started taking action, if you haven't been trying different things, if you haven't been putting yourself out there, right? It's okay to be scared. It's not okay to stay that way. It's not okay to not try anything. It's not okay to let that fear keep you beat down and staying in the same place. And so that's why this second principle is so important. Taking action. It's not a mind-blowing principle. You've heard this before. You've seen this on every motivational quote and video on Instagram. Take action, take action, take action. It's one of the most easiest principles to understand for people, and yet it's still the one that keeps people down the most, because people don't implement that into your life. When I was 17 years old, my brothers and I, we were headed to a wedding, and we got into a little bit of a road rage with this absolute maniac lady on the freeway. This lady decided she wanted us off the freeway. I don't remember, either she cut us off or we cut her off. I don't remember how it started, but this lady decided that she wanted us off the freeway. And so she's getting in front of us, she's stopping, she's brake checking us, she's stopping the car, and we're trying to go around her. And at one point, I got my brother Andre, he's driving in the driver's seat. My brother Igor's in the passenger seat. Yes, I have a brother named Igor. That's a common Russian name. And I'm in the back seat, and I'm unbuckled the entire time. And we're driving down the freeway, and my brother decides we got to get rid of this lady. Like, we got to get away from her. So he steps on the gas, and we start going about 80 miles an hour down the freeway, and we're going down the fast lane. And this lady, she catches up to us. She swerves across 3 lanes of traffic. She swerves her SUV, clips the back of my brother's car. The entire car spins around, back left tire snaps off, and we start rolling down the freeway. And as I mentioned, I'm unbuckled in the back seat the entire time. And we're rolling down the freeway. I remember glass flying everywhere. I'm flying around trying to find things to grab onto. Eventually the car lands on its roof, and it skids for about another 100 yards before the car finally comes to a stop. All 3 of us crawled out of that car, and to this day, I don't know how it happened. It was a miracle. I don't know how it happened, but all 3 of us crawled out without a single scratch on us. We had some torn clothes, we had some glass in our hair, that kind of a thing, but we were completely okay. I remember an ambulance lady pulls up. She takes one look at the car. She called us golden boys. She said, nobody should have came out of that car alive. Now, I can tell you that was a little moment of inspiration for me. That got me thinking about my life a little bit differently. The way I was living, the way I was treating people, how I was, when you're young, you think you're going to live forever. And it was at that moment that I realized that my life could have ended in an instant. It was the first time in my life that I finally realized that I wasn't going to live forever. That the way that I was living, I wasn't, the opportunities that I had in my life, that they weren't going to be there forever. There's something called mortality motivation. Mortality motivation, it's like when you have a near-death experience and you suddenly realize what's clear in your life. You suddenly realize what's important to you. You suddenly realize moments in your life that you were wasting, and people that you were spending time with that you shouldn't be spending time with, and that you don't have all the time in the world. And I had that. But that lasted for about a week. About a week later, after the emotion, after the excitement, after all that, it faded away, and everything was exactly the same in my life. Everything remained exactly the same. Nothing changed because I didn't take action. I didn't follow the principle number 2. I didn't take action. I didn't implement any of this new insight and clarity into my life. How often does that happen to us? How often do we read a book, we hear a song, we watch a movie, something triggers, something inspires us, something gives us an idea. We have that burning desire. We have that idea to change, to do something, to want to do something bigger with our life. But because we don't take action, because we don't implement, that emotion, eventually it fades away. See, motivation is a good thing. Motivation is meant to be that spark, meant to be that jolt. And everything that Alpha Leaders is doing, it creates that motivation. They're creating content for you to inspire you, to give you that jolt, to give you that excitement. But then it's got to be followed by action. There's got to be something that motivation's got to lead you to do something. And that's where this principle comes in. Take action. Don't be this person that just goes from video to conference to conference to conversation, talking big, thinking big, but never do anything about it. Principle number 2, take action. And this brings us to principle number 3, and final principle. And that is to always persist. My friend, it's not going to be easy. Like I said at the beginning, as a matter of fact, the bigger the goal, the bigger the destination, the bigger the vision, the bigger the dream, the longer it's going to take for you to get there. The more obstacles you're going to face in your life to achieve that goal. And so that's why this principle is so important. You might be someone who's already developed a burning desire. You might be somebody who knows exactly where you're headed. You might be somebody who's even started taking action. And yet the obstacles that we face along the way, the words of other people, the circumstances that we face, the pandemics, the things that come to us in our life that throw us off track, that disrupt us, that cause these moments of distraction in our life, they stop us dead in our tracks. And this is where most people stop. I believe that the difference between people who achieve extraordinary things in their life and people who don't, it's not that people who are doing extraordinary things out there are smarter than you or more talented or more skilled. They're just people who didn't quit somewhere along the way, who picked up those talents, who picked up those skills, who continue to fight, even though they faced the obstacles along the way. Don't quit. There's going to be distraction. There's going to be, especially we're living in a world right now of a lot of distraction. We got Netflix, we got small-minded thinking friends, we got social media, we have all these distractions. And what happens is when we face an obstacle in our life, what does our brain do? It starts to find a way to distract ourselves, right? It starts to find an easy way out. And we start to spend a little bit more time on social media. When we have a big project coming up, we have something that's scary, something that's tough coming up, and we just find a way to spend our time doing something else. So I'm asking you, my friends, don't quit. Stop tapping out. Stop going for these distractions. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. You've got to keep fighting. You've got to keep pushing through, finding ways to instill different habits and mindsets into your life that keep you on track, that keep that energy going for you, even when it doesn't feel like it, even when you're not feeling motivated, even when it sucks, even when it feels like, it's just like one obstacle after another. You've got to keep fighting. You've got to keep that vision clear in your mind. Put it up on your whiteboard. Put it on your wall. Stick it to your bathroom mirror. Whatever it is you have to do. Paste that burning desire, that goal on your dream. Keep it at the forefront of your mind because things will get tough. Things will get hard. There will be distractions. But if you keep that dream at the forefront of your mind, you're going to have the ability to persist. My friends, I'm going to leave you with this. One of the most incredible things I learned about this life is each of us have gifts and talents inside of us. And a lot of us, they're buried somewhere deep down. And for some of us, deeper than others. So my question for you is, what do you have to do to go out into your personal desert and pull those talents out? Dig them out. A lot of us, we keep those things buried down deep, deep inside of us. And my challenge for you is to go into whatever that personal desert looks like for you and dig them out. My friend, inside of you right now are 700 muscles attached to 200 bones that allow you to stand up and walk around. You have 2 gallons of life-giving blood that pumps through 12,000 miles of blood vessels that run from your toes all the way to your fingertips by a heart that beats 35 million times per year. You have 3 pounds of gray brain matter in your head that produces thoughts which could be measured on an electromagnetic device. You have 17 muscles in your face that allow you to smile, and every time you smile, you release healing endorphins through your entire body. You have eyes that subconsciously detect emotion on another person's face, allow you to feel what they feel, and cry when you see them cry because of something called mirror neurons. You have 10,000 taste buds in your tongue that goes down into your throat. It doesn't choke you while you sleep. You have lungs that expand into 20,000 breaths per day, keeping you alive without you ever needing to remind them to. You see, my friends, everything inside of you is fighting to keep you alive. The least you can do is start living. If you develop a burning desire and you start taking action and you continue to persist, you continue to fight, I promise you, you will do incredible things in your life. You will impact people from all walks of life, and people will remember your name, and you will have an incredible impact on this world. Thank you, Alpha Leaders, for allowing me to be a part of this, creating some content for you. I hope that it changes everything for you. Just like I had to wake up to my purpose and my potential in my life, I hope that these principles can do the same thing for you. If you are interested in checking out any of my books, all 4 of my books currently are available on Amazon. If you look up Michael V. Ivanov on Amazon.com, you can find all 4 of my books there. If you want to find me on Instagram, my Instagram tag handle is @TheMichaelIvanov. That's on Instagram. And if you want to look up my website, I got more content there. SpeakLife365.com. SpeakLife365.com. Thank you very much for joining me.